Встал. Что, рассказывай, скалазый.
Меня ранило, я полностью.
Syrian rebels have reportedly destroyed a group of elite Russian special forces in an ambush, as several sources indicate. The incident occurred as Syrian insurgents continue to make advances against government forces, nearing the outskirts of Aleppo, approximately 10 kilometers away. Photographs allegedly depicting the aftermath of the ambush, including the destruction of a Russian tactical vehicle and the seizure of personal weapons, were shared by the rebels. The images serve as evidence of the successful strike against the Russian forces, though details regarding the number of casualties or other operational specifics remain unclear. The rebel forces are currently conducting a coordinated offensive against Syrian military positions. They claim to have captured a number of settlements, including Balu, Khair Drakal, Kubtan al-Jabal, Salem, Al-Mari, Qasimiya, Kafr Bisin, and Hawar. The insurgents have also posted footage of abandoned Syrian military vehicles and scenes of soldiers trampling portraits at captured military sites. Reports from the scene indicate that Syrian forces and allied militias left behind wheeled military equipment, and rebels have stated they have taken prisoners during these operations. In response to the rebel advance, Russian forces have been deployed in an attempt to halt the insurgents' momentum. Russian air support, special forces, and artillery are being used extensively to support Syrian government troops who are struggling to retain control over strategic locations near Aleppo. The coordination between Russian and Syrian forces highlights the critical role Moscow plays in maintaining the current regime's hold over contested regions. The conflict in Syria has witnessed several shifts in momentum over the years, with various factions gaining and losing territory. This latest offensive by Syrian rebels demonstrates their ongoing determination to regain ground, particularly in Aleppo, an area that has been a focal point of intense fighting since the onset of the civil war. In the Kursk Oblast, Special Operations Forces managed to capture Russian soldiers from a Marine brigade. The command of the Special Operations Forces stated that several dozen Russians from the 810th Marine Brigade were captured. Soldiers of the Special Operations Forces inflicted significant losses in manpower on the enemy during special operations in the Kursk sector. The command of the Special Operations Forces added, "This Russian brigade has been involved in the war against Ukrainians since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This brigade also took an active part in the occupation of Crimea in February-March 2014. During this time, the Russian 810th Marine Brigade suffered significant losses in combat and from missile strikes. In early November, the Russian army resumed attempts at mechanized attacks in the Kursk Oblast. The offensive is carried out in particular by the forces of the 810th Marine Brigade of the Russian Navy. On November 7th, fighting continued in the main Ukrainian advance in the Kursk Oblast, southeast of Koronevo, near Novoivanivka, as well as near Darino and south of Sudja, near Plekovo. However, the front line has not changed significantly. In turn, the Russian so-called military reporters call the front line in the Kursk Oblast inactive. Meanwhile, the commander of one of the Ukrainian Armed Forces brigades said that the Russian military has much less armored vehicles and artillery in the Kursk Oblast than elsewhere on the front line, especially in the Donetsk region. Recently, units of the Armed Forces of Ukraine operating as part of the Siversk Joint Task Force successfully repelled a mechanized assault by Russian troops in the Kursk Oblast. Discipline in the Russian army. The wounded soldier apparently deserted from his position.
Встал. Что, рассказывай, скалазый. Удар полный. Давай без пиздежа. Куда он пошел? До деревни сколько? Ты 300-й дополз до деревни, узкоглазый, блядь, а? Рассказывай правду. Я тебя сейчас обнулю здесь. Сколько до деревни ползти, узкоглазый, блядь. Иди сюда, блядь, ты за стволом иди. А? Иди за стволом. Сейчас.
Lavrov claims that his patience regarding the ongoing ATAC-AMS strikes is about to run out. He's so worked up that he resorted to speaking in proverbs.
The attacks are continuing. The Ministry of Defense reports we have many proverbs that reflect the character of our people. Measure 7 times, cut once. The Lord endured and commanded us to do the same, but patience, when tested endlessly, comes to an end. Another saying that should be on the minds of Western officials in this situation: a Russian man takes a long time to harness. After that, I am sure the viewer knows.
25 years ago, Ukraine transferred missiles and strategic bombers to Russia. In exchange for the transferred weapons, Moscow canceled part of the debt for gas. In the first part of the series of investigations, schemes found evidence that the Russian army is shelling Ukrainian cities with Kh-55 cruise missiles handed over in 1999. In the sequel, the journalists talk about strategic bombers, which the Ukrainian authorities also gave to the Russian Federation a quarter of a century ago, and some of which are now in combat formation of the Russian army. The journalists established this by analyzing the serial numbers of the planes in the archive of the agreement of those times, data from international air registers, and also thanks to the comparison with the numbers of bombers that are now, according to Ukrainian intelligence, used by the Russian army. Norway proposes doubling its aid to Ukraine in 2025 to at least $2.75 billion, up from $1.37 billion in the draft budget. PM Stura. The situation in Ukraine is more severe, and we want Norway to lead in supporting Ukraine's resistance. Some heartwarming content. Officers of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine conducted an evacuation of 15 cats and kittens from Zmyiny, Snake Island. This was done because the approach of cold weather complicates the carefree life of numerous cats and kittens living on Zmyiny Island. The cats were taken to one of the largest animal shelters in Ukraine, Syrian, by Defense Intelligence of Ukraine.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.